Hi, folks. This is Abel James, and thanks so much for joining us on Fat Burning Man, where we talk about real food and real results. Today, I'm excited to bring back for the first time in 4 years, Mr. Drew Manning. We're going to talk about Fit to Fat to Fit, his new TV show on A&E that follows 10 ripped trainers who gain fat on purpose, then lose the weight with their overweight clients. We'll also cover Drew's recent experiments with ketosis and intermittent fasting. You guys are going to like this one. But I just want to say, if you tuned in to watch me on Thursday night starring on ABC's My Diet is Better Than Yours, thank you so much for the support. In case you missed it, Kurt and I won first place in 2 events straight out of the gate by dropping 21 pounds in 2 weeks with the Wild Diet. Kurt describes the Wild Diet as simple, fresh ingredients with a bit of fun. And I can tell you that he was the only contestant eating grass-fed ribeye steaks the first week of a weight loss competition. You can catch up on the show by watching it on Hulu or ABC Go. You can also see me Thursdays on ABC on My Diet is Better Than Yours. It's really fun. Sean T's on there. We've got experts from all over the country. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. There are some crazy personalities on the show and characters. You're going to dig it, so check it out. Just a quick recap. In his first week eating wild, my contestant, Kurt, who started off at 352 pounds, he won number 1 in the weigh-in by losing 16 pounds in 7 days while eating delicious foods like bacon cheeseburgers, chocolate, and even putting a hunk of grass-fed butter into his fresh roasted coffee. Not only that, but Kurt dominated the competition and won number 1 in the fitness challenge that was designed by Kelly Ripa's and Shakira's trainer, Anna Kaiser. Bacon for the win, baby. The next few hours at Fat Burning headquarters got a little bit crazy. My book, The Wild Diet, became the number 1 book in paleo and number 1 best-selling mover and shaker in all of Amazon, which is crazy. And then even crazier, The Wild Diet literally sold out on Amazon within a few hours and sold out in a lot of bookstores. So if you guys have been looking for my book in bookstores, you haven't been able to find it. It's because it's literally out of stock. But the good news is that you can get it now for a discount. The new paperback version of The Wild Diet is just out, hot off the presses. So please do me a quick favor. If you like this show, if you like what I do, pick up a copy of The Wild Diet. And even more importantly, please leave me a review, probably on Amazon. That's the best place to find the review. The Wild Diet hardback version has plenty of reviews. I really appreciate that. But the paperback gets a brand new set of them. So if you could go to Amazon, type in The Wild Diet or Abel James, look for the paperback version that's just out of The Wild Diet and leave me a review, I would be forever indebted. And I really appreciate your support. So thank you so much. Now, I just want to remind you that I'm doing live tweeting. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. While the show is airing, I'm right there. So you can always tweet at me at FatBurnMan. You can get in touch on Facebook at Fat Burning Man. I'm pretty much anywhere, so you can always tweet at me, get in touch. I love hearing from you guys. And I just want to remind you, I wrote a recap of the first few episodes of the show at fatburningman.com, so check that out. Even if you can't watch TV, and I know a lot of you don't do that. We don't even own a TV here. I'm writing recaps on the blog, so make sure to check those out. It's really interesting what's happening. And if you're into the high-fat, low-carb approach, into paleo or primal, you really want to pay attention to what's happening here because it's about to get very interesting. Once again, the show's called My Diet is Better Than Yours on ABC. Check it out. You guys are going to like it. All right, on to the show with Mr. Drew Manning. You're going to learn how to deal with temptations and junk food in your home, how Drew got his 2 daughters hooked on healthy food, what it's like to eat healthy in Hawaii, Drew's 20-minute beach workout, and much more. All right, let's go hang out with Drew. All right, folks, I'm very happy to be back here on the show with Drew Manning, who is the New York Times bestselling author of the book Fit to Fat to Fit, that shows people how to gain and lose fat, a feat of dramatic self-experimentation. He's been featured on shows such as Dr. Oz, Good Morning America, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, The View, and many more. His experiment has now turned into a TV show called Fit to Fat to Fit, airing on A&E. How is it going, Drew?
It's going very well, Abel. Thanks for having me back on, man.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been like 4 years. So you guys who are listening, if you've been listening since the beginning in 2012 or whatever, you might remember Drew. This was, when you were first coming out with this concept and this idea of gaining fat on purpose, and it just went viral way back then. I loved having you on the show. I know your views and approach to all of this have evolved a lot since then. I'm stoked to have you back.
Yeah, man, me too. A lot has changed in 4 years, and I can't believe it's been 4 years after doing what I did, which, for those who don't know what I did, you got to go back and look at the pictures at least.
It's nuts. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But just a quick background on that. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I remember when it came out, everyone was shocked. They really were, because
Yeah.
you went from looking like a fitness model to gaining, it was 75 pounds, right?
Yeah. 75.
In 6 months?
6 months.
And then
Yeah.
reversing the same, losing 75 pounds, going back to that fitness model look, and all of the trials and terrors that happened throughout that. And a lot of them were deeply, deeply emotional, right?
Yeah. And that's what the biggest surprise was.
Yeah.
People look at the pictures and like, wow, that's crazy. But if you go and read my book and read my old blog posts, you see how it changed me from a mental and emotional perspective, which was the biggest surprise of the whole journey. I think that's why people were able to relate to me and were inspired by it, because I wasn't doing it just to rub it in people's faces by saying, look, I can get fat and get fit again. Why can't you?
Yeah.
That wasn't the purpose behind it.
Yeah.
They saw how humbling it was and how it gave me a totally new perspective and some empathy for people who struggle.
Yeah.
And so it was a very valuable lesson that I learned.
Yeah. And it's, man, it is just so fascinating, because there's so much that can be said for cutting edge research, right? And then big studies. There's a whole other thing when you see it, and I'm sure when you experience it firsthand, right? So let's start quickly with just what are the foods, maybe some of the foods that people might not realize that you used to gain fat.
Yeah. A lot of people thought I did like the Supersize Me experiment where I ate McDonald's and Wendy's and Taco Bell every day.
Yeah.
Honestly, I ate fast food maybe once a week. 90% of my food was your typical American highly processed foods that a lot of us grew up on in this country and we still eat. And a lot of it is even marketed to us as health food, right?
Yeah.
So things like white bread, white pasta, juices, granola, cookies, cereal, sodas, those types of foods are the types of foods I ate every single day, probably around 5,000 calories, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised at how quickly you become hungry after eating those highly processed foods. I mean, I could have a huge bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and then an hour later be starving, for something else. And so I lived off that for 6 months. And people, before I started the experiment, would tell me, oh, your genetics won't let you get fat. There's no way. And then they saw how quickly I changed, how quickly my body changed. And I attribute it to those highly processed, typical American foods that a lot of us still buy because they're cheap, they're convenient, and I'll be honest, man, they do taste good. Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Right. Oh, of
I mean, it
course.
really does taste good. Yeah.
It's not even fair.
Yeah.
So now let's go to the other side.
Yeah.
And I know your thinking has kind of changed a bit since then, but you were leaning down on a diet plan that you shared with everyone, which I thought was such a cool thing, because they really saw you struggling emotionally throughout the whole process. They saw you gaining fat in pictures, then losing it again. But you were doing a lot of kind of calorie restriction, oatmeal, quite a bit of exercise, and like egg whites.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of my mentality. I come from a background of your typical personal trainer through NASM, and there's a little blurb in there about nutrition. And I figured out what proteins, fats, and carbs were. And I started, I documented my meal plan of what I ate every single day.
Yeah.
And I'll get into the specifics, but I mean, yeah, it did work. I did lose the 75 pounds in 6 months, and I got my six pack back, which is cool. But
it's incredible. Let's just take a step back and say that's incredible.
It was incredible. By no means was it easy. It was way harder than I thought it was going to be. But still, typically what I did was I had, your healthy proteins, lean meats. I did a lot of the egg whites. Just because I was trying to reduce my fat a little bit. I mean, I still ate some fat, but not nearly as much as I eat nowadays. And then I did the healthy grains, and even some dairy every now and then. So like, for example, my pre-workout meal back then was, protein shake and whole wheat toast with some peanut butter, and that was like my go-to pre-workout meal back then. And it worked, I'm not going to lie. But for the most part, I've upgraded, is what I call it, my thinking about nutrition, because nutrition plays a big role in getting back to fit for anybody. And so, I've definitely upgraded what I do now. I definitely eat a lot more healthier fat. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to eat the egg yolks.
Yeah.
I have a lot of those every single day, and I don't do a whole lot of grains. If I do eat grains, it's going to be during a cheat meal, which I do implement into my lifestyle every now and then. But I don't do the whole wheat toast or the oatmeal at all, pretty much nowadays.
Yeah. So do you feel different by eliminating the grains? Like, what's the main thinking behind it?
Yeah, because now I get most of my carbs from nutrient dense vegetables. Whereas before I had some of my carbs from the grains, which are not nutrient dense, but they are very calorie rich, right? And so now I'm replacing those with a lot more nutrient dense vegetables. So my body feels a lot healthier. I can recover a lot quicker with those types of foods in my diet compared to before.
Isn't it cool? Because you totally can do it in so many different ways, like gaining and losing fat, and for fitness competitions, a lot of models, people making weight for wrestling or whatever. You can do it in so many ways. Some of them are horrifying and like terrible for you. Others just kind of like work, and it seems like a lot of people who are getting in on it now, like professional athletes, they'll try the lower carb thing now, getting away from processed sugars, getting away from all those sports drinks and other super processed sources of calories in favor of what you just said, eating more veggies and eating high quality proteins, not being afraid of fat. I love that it seems like that message is starting to get out there.
Yeah, and you can see how it's evolved over the years. From 4 years ago, that was kind of like the mainstream thinking. But nowadays, a lot more people are looking into the high fat, moderate protein, low carb diets. Whereas before it was high protein, moderate carbs, low fat. And now people are starting to evolve their thinking and look at the new studies that are out there nowadays and seeing the importance of fat in your diet.
Yeah.
And it's great because of podcasts like you're getting the word out there. More people are becoming more educated about this. And it's good because we get so set in our ways sometimes, especially in the fitness world. And we're thinking, oh, this is the way to do it because it's worked for me for 20 years. And you kind of get prideful about looking at, the new research, the new science that's out there.
Yeah, totally. Now, so your show is going to raise a lot of eyebrows. I'm so excited for it to come out. Just the brief promo that I watched, like my heart was beating the whole time. Can you talk about the premise and what you guys are up to?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the TV show is called Fit to Fat to Fit, just like my journey. And basically the idea is we're taking 10 trainers from across the country. There's 2 in LA, 2 in Salt Lake, 2 in New York, 2 in Atlanta, and 2 in Florida. And these trainers who are very, good looking, your typical trainers with 6-pack, they all look really good, kind of self-obsessed, just like I was before about, your physique. And we're putting them through what I went through. So 4 months, they have to do 4 months of fit to fat, no exercise. They try and eat the diet of their client that they're going to be teamed up with. And so, they have a 4-month period for that. And then after those 4 months, they get teamed up with their obese client. And together as a team, and now as a fat trainer, they have to lose the weight together as a team. And so it's an 8-month process. It's a docuseries format for the TV show, so it's not competition or anything like that.
Yeah.
It takes you through the trainer's journey of what they go through from a physical, mental, and emotional experience during this experiment.
Yeah. I know you probably can't share too much, but what are some of the things that like surprised you about it's one thing doing it yourself, but seeing other people do it, like what surprised you about it?
That's a great question. You know what? Going into it, my hope was that these trainers would be able to take out of it what I took out of it, which was a better understanding and some empathy. But you can't force somebody to gain empathy, right? So my hope was that they would come out of this having a better understanding and gaining some empathy and in a way be humbled. And I was surprised that every single one of them experienced that because before we started the show, I was worried that some of them would be like, oh, this is so easy. This isn't even hard. But every single trainer had a struggle, had a moment of being humbled, and came out of this with a better respect for people who are overweight that try to lose weight.
Wow.
And that's what surprised me because I didn't think all of them would come out of it with that understanding, but every single one of them did.
That's so cool. What about the mechanisms? Are they doing it in a similar way, similar diets and exercise programs?
You know what? They get to choose their own diet and exercise programs. So it's great because you see people who are, based on yoga, you see people who are more CrossFit, and you see people who are more body weight exercises. And so you get all aspects of these 10 different trainers and their methods, kind of similar to your show.
Yeah.
There's different methods being compared here, and you kind of see what works for some people and what doesn't, so that's a cool aspect of the show as well.
That's super cool, man. Now, so you've been doing some of your own experimentations. We talked about like the higher fat approach. You did your own ketosis experiment. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, and I kind of hesitate to call it an experiment, because it was a 1 week kind of stint where I was moving out to Hawaii, and I had about a week.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you, man. It's awesome out here. I love it. So if any of you guys want to come visit,
right
I'm on the Big Island. But anyways, exactly. I had about a week before I left, and I was like, you know what? I was listening to a lot of podcasts, including yours,
a lot of crazy podcasts saying ridiculous things.
Yeah, I like to educate myself through that method, and so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to try a keto plus intermittent fasting mini experiment for about a week. So here was my format. So basically, I did a 16-8 format for intermittent fasting. So I didn't eat until 12 o'clock every single day, noon, my time. And then it was very high fat. Actually lowered my protein to around about 120 grams, 110 grams per day, which a lot of people are like, dude, how do you maintain your muscle like that? Yeah. And, we can talk about that later. But anyways, sure. And then very, very low carbs during that week. And I bought, just those keto sticks from like CVS Pharmacy, sure. You pee on. I mean, that was my only method of tracking it. And so basically I just did that format for a whole week. And it's not long enough to really notice a big difference, but I got it into ketosis within 2 to 3 days based off of that those keto sticks. Yeah. And the biggest things that I noticed that were on the positive, one was my digestion was way better. Giving my digestive system a break, during those 16 hours of fasting felt great. Yeah. And then also I had no crashes during the day. I thought I was going to be struggling without any energy, not having any breakfast like I'm used to. But I had no crashes during the day, and I slept so much better during that week. And this was just a mini experiment. Yeah. I definitely plan on doing a more formal experiment long-term down the road. Yeah. Just kind of still getting situated here in Hawaii, and the TV show is happening. So, but I plan on doing a more detailed experiment with intermittent fasting separately from ketosis, because doing both of those at the same time was kind of stressful, I'll be honest, but I definitely noticed some big changes. For sure. And it's one of the things that I love and hate about self-experimentation, having done quite a few, is that some experiments don't work out very well. Right? Like I've pushed the keto and fasting thing to certain limits, such that it doesn't work well anymore. You get to this point where all of a sudden something has to go, and a lot of times it'll be your energy or your workout or your motivation. Like you said, the crashing thing. And one quick tip that I have for people is on some days, especially if I ate quite a bit the day before, like today, I'm fasting pretty much all day. I'm on my feet. I feel great. I don't want a bunch of like junk in my stomach. But on most days, if you do the 16-8, if you're eating around lunchtime, that can work pretty well, and you don't usually get that crash. But it's a nice kind of more moderate approach to get started with. So was that the first time you tried fasting as well? Yes. Okay. On a regular basis. Yeah. Growing up, I grew up in a very religious atmosphere where once a month I fasted. Oh, okay. And that was my only experience, but I hated it. Yeah. As a kid, not understanding the benefits of what I was doing, I was like, I have to fast again. How long was it? Like a whole day or? Yeah. 24 hours was my fast. And you're just not understanding the science behind it. You're just like, okay, I have to do this. Right. And I'm not going to get into religion or anything like that. But that was my only experience before this. But understanding the nutrition going into it, understanding it helped out a lot. And then you're more apt to notice the benefits from it, Yeah. So that was my first experiment doing intermittent fasting, but I plan on doing trying out some other experiments in the future with it. Yeah, cool. So how is this the fasting combined with the putting on fat, losing it, seeing it happen to other people? How has this changed or enhanced your perspective on like the calories in, calories out dilemma? I don't even talk about calories in versus calories out anymore.
Yeah.
I think most people, not, well, I can't say most people, a lot of my followers know that I'm over that. You
Yeah.
know, that's kind of come and gone. It's done its thing. It's helped out some people, but for the most part, people aren't really talking about that anymore. And so
Yeah.
I think more and more people are educating themselves on what's really important. It's more about the quality of those calories coming in
Hmm.
versus the quantity. And you know what? A great documentary I saw, Fed Up, which
Yeah.
if you
Fed up
haven't
is
watched
great.
that, it's a great documentary talking about the quality of those calories coming in versus the quantity. And I
Hmm.
think more and more people are educating themselves on that. So I've definitely I don't even address that a whole lot anymore. And luckily, I don't. My followers don't ask me about that as much.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
It's cool to see that transform and how quickly that's happened. But what are your like? How are you eating today? Are you still thinking about macros? Are you eyeballing it for the most part? What does it look like?
That's good. I don't really do a lot of tracking. And I
Hmm.
think for some people it works, especially if they're just starting out. They don't know where to start. Like I'm okay with people counting calories just to give them an idea of a ballpark of where they're at.
Yeah.
But I don't have them beat themselves up if they go over 100 calories or they're under 100 calories. Same
Right.
thing with macros. I don't really track my macros, but if someone has a very specific goal of getting this type of body fat percentage, for example, and they want to do a physique show, then maybe they should start tracking, keeping a journal, because it's kind of a form of accountability in
Yeah.
a way. But for
Hmm.
me, I'm training for life. I'm not training for a physique show or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I don't do any tracking. I'm just trying to stay as healthy as possible, for my two kids. So I have two
Yeah.
little girls. And, but I definitely think it serves a purpose for some people.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned a cheat day or a free meal.
Yes.
That's another like contentious topic, right? And I would imagine that it probably means something different to you now than it did before your experiment, right? So can we talk about that?
Yes. Yeah, first of all, I don't really even do a cheat day, right?
Yeah.
Before I used to have a whole cheat day and things like that, but I don't really go back into that anymore. I do have a free meal or a treat meal where, let's say it's the holidays and I'm at a family dinner and my mother-in-law makes, bread pudding or like something
Yeah.
like that. I'm not going to be like, no, excuse me, I have my chicken and broccoli over here. I'm good, or whatever. I'm going to indulge in these foods,
Yeah.
I don't look at the nutrition facts before they give it to me. And the biggest thing that's changed is my perception of
Hmm.
that experience. Whereas before I would eat it and then feel guilty afterwards or beat myself up like, oh man, I want to go to the gym right now after eating that food. And now it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this experience. Because this is kind of like, it's like making a memory, life is
Hmm.
about making memories. And especially when you're with family and there's good food there, it's not so much about the food; it's about the experience you're
Yeah.
having. And so I'll indulge in things like that or experiences and moments like that because I feel like life is too short, in my opinion, to just focus on okay, how many macros are in this or how much sugar is in this.
Hmm.
Just enjoy it for what it is, and then go right back to your healthy lifestyle afterwards. Don't beat yourself up. That's the worst thing you can do,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So enjoy it, and then go right back to your healthy lifestyle
Yeah.
after you're done.
Yeah.
So that's my philosophy now.
I love that. Now, what about working out? How's your fitness perspective on all this and workout itself evolved?
Yeah, you know what? My workouts when I did Fit to Fat to Fit were 5 days a week. About 35 to 45 minutes per day, which isn't that bad. I
Yeah.
know some people who work out for 2 hours per day,
Sure.
and it was it was a mix of resistance training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then cardio Tuesday, Thursday. But it was mostly all in a gym.
Hmm.
Whereas nowadays, especially living here in Hawaii, I could go to the beach or go outside, go for a hike. It's
Awesome.
more It's more functional movements.
Hmm.
I did about 2-3 years of CrossFit though, which I loved out
Cool.
in Utah before I moved out here to Hawaii. But I've kind of taken a break from that, and my workouts are honestly 20 minutes long at the
Hmm.
most.
Hmm.
And it's just about working out as efficient as possible,
Cool.
so that I don't have to spend all day away from my kids, but I'm getting the same type of results. I still have a six pack. I still
Hmm.
stay probably around 10 to 12% body fat, which I feel great with.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about the physique anymore.
Hmm.
Whereas before, when I did Fit to Fat to Fit, it was more about the physique,
Hmm.
and looking good. But I'll be honest with you, Fit to Fat to Fit totally changed me. gave me a better appreciation of my body, because you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. Yeah. And what's the cool thing about the TV shows. These trainers who have been fit their whole lives, now that their health is taken away and their six packs are gone, they have to find out who they really are. You know, because they identify themselves as being, oh, I'm Joe, the guy with a six pack. But now that that's gone, who am I? Yeah. You know, that's why I tell people, you're not your body. You're not your six pack. You're not your love handles. That is one piece of you, but that does not define you. Yeah. And so that's what's really cool about the show. You see how these trainers kind of go through the struggle like I did. Okay, who am I? You kind of lose yourself a little bit. And that's why it's such a struggle emotionally. And then they come out at the end, once they do get their body back, they're so much more appreciative. There's so much more understanding there. And my whole goal with the TV show, honestly, Abel, is to take these two sides. I feel like there's two worlds out there. There's these skinny, fit people over here, and they kind of love this world that they're in. And then the people who are overweight that feel like they're stuck, and they don't really see a lot of progress. And there's judgment going back and forth on both sides. Sure. You know, if you look at it, let's be honest, there is judgment on both sides. And my whole goal with Fit Fat Fit is to bridge that gap that's out there and help there be more understanding on both sides, so that there's less judgment in the world. And that's my whole goal with Fit to Fat to Fit, my experiment and the TV show. That's
a beautiful thing. Let me ask you probably a hard question, but I'm just curious about, like, going through your experience, especially the emotional journey that you just described. How does that change raising your own daughters?
That's a great question, man. You know what? Let me kind of back up to my experiment when I did Fit to Fat to Fit. Yeah. When I ate mac and cheese and chicken McNuggets and a liter of Coke for dinner some nights, I purposely made a separate meal for my daughters. I made them, healthy food. And I purposely did that because I knew if they ate the foods that I was eating, especially at the ages they were, they would want to continue to eat those foods. And so I purposely did that. And I feel like it's changed now to where I educate them on why, we as a family eat healthy food. Rather than just saying, hey, eat your vegetables, I focus so much more on why it's important to eat these healthy foods. And so I make them a part of the process. I take them grocery shopping with me. I let them help me pick out the vegetables. I let them help me prepare the food. So we're cooking together and explaining why we're eating these foods as we're eating them. Instead of just delivering the food to them and saying, this is your dinner, this is what you have to eat. They're a part of the process, and they understand the why behind it, instead of just, like I said, just saying, here's your food, eat it, or else go to bed. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. What are some of the things that you feed them that work in sort of in like getting them on board? Like, do they like bananas, or is there something else that like really works?
Yeah. So, and that's the interesting thing is one daughter does not like certain vegetables and the other daughter will not eat other vegetables. And so I to kind of cater to what foods they'll eat. So for example, they'll have my spinach shake, which is my go-to breakfast recipe, which I've kind of upgraded since I actually did this journey. But basically it's spinach. Instead of banana, I actually use avocado. Nice. So I do spinach, avocado, coconut, unsweetened coconut flakes, cacao nibs, and then I'll use different kinds of protein. Sometimes I'll use plant-based protein. But anyways, and then I add whole cashews, unsweetened almond milk, and ice, and they'll drink that with me.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it really is good, man. And then for dinner, they'll eat the same foods I eat. So we'll do like some, organic chicken sausage, or we'll do some bison meat. And my oldest daughter loves cucumbers. So if I know that she likes certain vegetables, I'll have her just load up on those instead of trying to force her, because I know that she doesn't like broccoli, but there's times where she still has to eat it. But, we're working on that. But if she's going to eat cucumbers, then, okay, here's all the cucumbers you can handle. Right. And then my other daughter doesn't like cucumbers, but she'll eat bell peppers all day. Huh. So I have her load up on that, for example. And so it is more work as a parent, in my opinion. And I do try and make the presentation as colorful as possible and make it fun. I'll get them fun plates. I'll cut up the vegetables in certain shapes, or I'll cut out their name, and they like love it. And then they're more willing to eat the food because it's more fun. And I understand as a parent, it's like, oh, that's an extra 5 minutes, but it's worth it to me. It's like an investment.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. Now, what about you guys moving out to Hawaii and feeding the family there? Have you changed things up? Are you trying a bunch of weird foods? Like, what's that like?
I'll be honest, it is harder out here because it's cultural change for us, and people show their love by food. And so there's all kinds of luau's, and it's not always the healthiest food, but there are great native foods out here that are super healthy. For example, taro root. There's a food out here called poi. Yeah. And it does not taste very good. I'll be honest with you, it tastes like dirt.
It doesn't.
But it
straight
is
out of the box anyway.
Yeah, it is nutrient dense, and it is a starchy carb, but it's great for you. And so that's something that I've implemented into my diet. There's a lot more Asian influenced foods out here. So kimchi has become a very big part of my diet out here. Cool. And then for the girls, for the most part, they are willing to try certain things. I haven't gotten them to eat lau lau yet, or poi, these types of native foods, but they're experimenting. And once they see their friends eat those foods, or their cousins that live out here, then they're more willing to eat those foods.
Or when you see you can eat it with your fingers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true.
They must love that.
They do.
They must just love being out there.
Well, I hope they do, and it seems like they do. And it's just awesome because you have the beach so close. And I'm trying not to rub it in because I know it's winter out there for everybody on the mainland, but it really is awesome out here. It's a great energy.
And I think it's a great example of something that you can do today, and a lot of people, especially who work in the health industry, you can take advantage of it. You can go on trips like that, experience new food, new cultures, and just tip of the hat to you, Drew, for doing that, because there's so much inertia, right? Like whenever you want to move somewhere else or change your life in one way or another, people just kind of say, well, I can't do that, right? Yeah. And so it's just props to you for making it happen. It's so cool.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. People told me that, like, oh, I wish I could do something like that. And honestly, I didn't think I could. It was out of my comfort zone, but it was something spontaneous. And I'm like, you know what? Why wait till I'm 6 years old and retire to up and move when you're kind of, older and you're set in your ways. And I figured now's the time, and let's do it. Life is about making memories, not just for you, but for your kids. And so that's why we moved out here. So
let me ask you this. What is Drew's Hawaii beach workout?
So the word for stone out here is pohaku. And like, there's so many pohakus here on the Big Island. So I'll take a stone and I'll do like thrusters, for example. Rad. And then I'll do sprints on the beach, and then I'll go body surf for like a couple waves. Then I'll come back in and repeat that superset, Yeah. So more thrusters, sprint on the beach, go body surf a couple waves, and then I'll maybe do like 10 sets of that. And it takes me like 20 minutes. Yeah. And it's awesome because you can do it year round out here because it's not cold. Sure. So, I mean, just use
now
the
you're
land.
Running in our faces.
Yes. We got to hurry this up, Abel. I got to go to the beach after this. Okay.
So ridiculous. Well, we are coming up on time, but before we go, Drew, please tell folks where they can find you, your show, and everything else you're working on.
Yeah. So first of all, the show airs January 19th, everybody, Tuesday, January 19th on A&E. So make sure and set your DVRs for that. And then you can find me at Fit to Fat to Fit. Now, my brand is Fit #2 Fat #2 Fit. The TV show is Fit TO Fat TO Fit. So there's difference in there. Exactly, yeah, because I don't want to share my website with them. But anyways, my website's fittofat2fit.com. All my social media is at Fit2Fat2Fit. And cool. I promise you, I answer all my emails, all my tweets, all my Facebook messages. So I'd love to
see you on there all the time. It's a beautiful thing.
I try and stay active, man. It's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it is. Well, you're doing great work. Drew, thank you so much for coming back on.
Hey, thanks, Abel. And I'll be talking to you very soon.
Did you make a resolution this year to drop stubborn fat, improve your health, or finally bust through your fat loss or training plateau? Good news, you still have time to join the Wild Diet 30-Day Challenge in our online membership community, the Fat Burning Tribe. We're here to help with all the tools, motivation, and support you need to get in the best shape of your life. For 1 month only, you'll not only gain access to our library of videos, recipes, articles, downloads, and a supportive group of community members, you'll also be able to grab your 30-day Wild Diet done-for-you meal plan, a $97 value, when you sign up. My wife Allison and I developed the 30-day meal plan using our favorite recipes backed by the principles of the Wild Diet to help you shed fat as quickly as possible while enjoying delicious meals and real food treats. There's a 6-pack under there, and we're going to help you find it. If you join the Wild Diet Challenge today, you'll get your first month of the entire program for just $1. It's a value of well over $100. So don't wait. The bonuses and giveaways expire soon. All you have to do to get in the fun is type in fatburningman.com/challenge. Once again, from any device, that's fatburningman.com/challenge. I'll see you there. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Fat Burning Man. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, the podcast app, or wherever else you might be listening to or watching this show. Got a second? Please leave me a quick review on iTunes. I always love hearing from you, and if you think someone else might like and benefit from this free show, please take a second to share it with a friend or with a family member. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at FatBurnMan and Facebook by typing in Abel James or Fat Burning Man. Drop me a line anytime. Did you know that I've recorded over 150 episodes of Fat Burning Man, winning 4 awards in independent media and hitting #1 in more than 8 countries? And here's some more good news. You can download and listen to every single episode for free. All you have to do is type in fatburningman.com. I'll give you a second to type it in, fatburningman.com. And you'll get all the show notes in video and audio versions for all the past episodes of Fat Burning Man. Better yet, enter your best email at fatburningman.com, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll even send you a quick start guide to start burning fat right now and a few of our ridiculously tasty recipes as a special thanks for signing up. Once again, just go to fatburningman.com right now, enter your best email to get your free fat burning download straight to your inbox, and make sure that you never miss a show again. This is Abel James signing off. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great week.
Around helping people, not just what I'm passionate about. So the why is powerful. You need a why that makes you cry, as we talked about. Right?
I dig it. Now, so how about the what? What are these people doing?